Once again, a pleasant evening to everyone. So, the SDS 296 class of the Sustainable Development Studies program of Mindanao State University Graduate School welcomes you all to this webinar entitled Conflict Sensitivity and Peace Promotion in Development Setting. So we appreciate you all for taking your time in joining us in this webinar. So
bayang magiliw, telas ng silanganan, alab ng puso, sa dibdib mo'y buhay. Lupang hinirang, duyan ka ng magiting, sa manlulupig, di ka pasisigit, sa dagat at bundok, sa sa langit mong bughaw, may dilagang tula at awit sa paglayang minamahal. Ang kislap ng watawat mo'y tagumpay na nagniningning. Ang bituin at araw niya kailan pa may di magdidilim. Lupa ng araw ng walhati pagsinta, buhay ay langit sa piling mo. Aming ligaya na pag may mga api ang mamatay na dahil sa'yo.
So again, to formally start our webinar this evening, may I request our ever-supporting class advisor, Dr. Ava Claire Marie, to give us a short opening and welcome address. Ma'am?
Okay, my good evening to all. My courtesy and respect to the Dean of the Graduate School, Dr. Wilfred Bidag, to our resource speaker and my friend, Ms. May Baliena, to the hardworking SDS team, spearheaded by Ms. Reggie Baliena, to our participants, friends, good evening. It is my pleasure to welcome you all to this third virtual session with the theme Conflict Sensitivity and Peace Promotion in Development Settings. As we all know, there has been a growing recognition that COVID-19 has brought various disruptive impacts, not just on our health and economy, but also in stabilizing peace. As such, the SDS program crafted various seminar sessions, and one of which is to address this gap. I strongly believe that despite the various trials in life, learning must continue. So to my dear participants, we would like to express our delight for joining with us. So once again, I would like to say, welcome to our third webinar session. Mabuhay po tayong lahat.
Thank you po, Dr. Ava. And now, may I request the Dean of MSU Jensen Graduate School to give us a short inspirational message for this webinar.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening, everybody. Mayang gabi sa tanan.
Good evening, sir.
So thank you for this seminar. This is about peace, no? Peace and development. Ano bang title nito? Peace. Anong title ng seminar?
Conflict Sensitivity and Peace Promotion in Development Setting po, sir.
Okay. Sa kasi sa atin in our present situation now, very important itong understanding natin ng conflict and its implication to peace, no? One of the things that we often think about is that there is peace when there is no war. No? Kung walang gera, there is peace. But actually, if we really look at the situation now from the global as well as from the national perspective, ang peace kasi natin, hindi natin na-attain because of what we call a situational conflict. Ano itong tinatawag natin ng situational conflict? the very fact that there are people who are deprived of economic opportunities, food, shelter, mga basic needs na hindi na provide sa mga tao is already a presence of conflict. In fact, this conflict is very real, no, sa ating kapaligiran. No, there are people, mga tao na wala naman masyadong trabaho, pero malaki ang kita nila, no? May mga businessmen na hindi naman masyadong nagpapainit, hindi nagtatrabaho under the sun, and are not exerting a lot of effort, but they are earning a lot of money from the efforts of others, mga workers nila. On the other hand, may mga tao rin na araw-araw, no, nagbibenta ng isda, nagbibenta ng saging, kung ano-ano ang binibenta. They work very hard the whole day and they're getting very little income. No? Ang income nila ay nasa 300 to 350. Yung mga drivers, halimbawa sa jeepneys, they are earning as low as 300 pesos a day. No? I don't know, baka bumaba pa ngayon sa COVID-19. This is a situation where there's conflict. There is what we call as situational conflict. And the everlasting struggle to provide equitable opportunity for everybody, to address the problem of poverty, to let every people, no, share the benefits of economic development has always been the question of sustainable development. Kaya nga sabi ko, okay ba? Naririnig ba ako? Okay ba?
Yes po. Loud
Yes,
and
sir.
clear po.
Narinig ka na rin,
Kaya
sir.
sabi ko nga
Loud and
kasi,
clear, sir.
itong mga SDS, kayo na mga sustainable development students, ang laki ng trabaho ninyo. Actually, yung trabaho ninyo ay hindi matapos yan even if you finish your masteral, even if you proceed to PhD, even pa mag-postdoctorate pa kayo, hindi natatapos yung trabaho ninyo because this is an everlasting issue of inequality in society. Wala pang society sa mundo natin na naka-achieve ng a little equilibrium between the rich and the poor. In fact, ang irony is that even with so much income, no, halos kalaki-laki na ang income ng mundo natin, laki ng pera na pumapasok sa ating economy, ay lalong dumadami yung mahirap. Lalong dumadami yung nade-deprive ng opportunity sa buhay natin nila. And we ask the questions, where is this income going? Where is this benefits from the economy going? Sino ba ang nagbe-benepisyo nito? Of course, sabi natin na nagbe-benepisyo niyan ay yung mga kapitalista, yung mga nagbibigay ng pera o na pundo. Yung mga nasa taas at yung nasa baba, they are left behind. Now, of course, we're not saying na dahil tayo ay mga SDS, kayo ay mga SDS na kayo, kung ano-ano yung napag-aralan ninyo sa klase ninyo, it does not mean that you can solve the problems of this world. It does not mean that even in your community, you can more or less lessen the inequality between the rich and the poor. Hindi natin goal yan. But what we can probably do is to develop a sense of awareness among the people of these inequalities and to help policymakers, no? Mga policymakers, mga businessmen, mga politicians natin to have a conscience, to have a sense of social duty to lessen the inequality. No? Sipin na lang natin na may mga taong matutulog sila ngayong gabi na kulang sa kain at bukas walang kakainin. Oh. So saan yung tinatawag natin na sensitivity, yung peace sensitivity, yung conflict management? No? So tayo na nakapag-aral, tayo na medyo nakalamang kunti sa buhay natin dito sa mundo, should more or less be concerned about these people na marginalized ng ating economic development. Okay, so yun ang sinasabi ko palagi, that you as students of the Sustainable Development Studies have a very important mission sa buhay na ito. So, yun ang aking message. Na-inspire ba kayo o nagalit kayo sa akin?
Higher, sir. Thank you po.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you for your words, sir.
Inspiration, pero parang nakaka-depress pala yung sinabi ko sa inyo.
Thank you for that, sir.
So for the rationale of our webinar for tonight, scarcity, conflict, and polarization, and intergroup tension can and often does intensify existing tensions and conflict. On the other hand, the positive potential of aid to strengthen social cohesion through participatory development. Let me introduce our research speaker for tonight. She graduated ED Political Science at Mindanao State University, General Santos, and she took up her master's degree in Political Science, major in Democratic Governance and Civil Society at Universitat of Osnabrück in Cologne, Germany. She is now currently affiliated at the Office of Presidential Advisor on the Peace Process as a Project Development Officer. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome our research speaker for tonight's webinar, Ms. May E. Balyana. Ms. May?
Hi, Gwen. Thank you for that. Hi, Mama Ava. Good evening po. Klaro ba?
Hello, May. Good
Hi
evening.
po. Hi,
Nice to
hi.
see you.
Yes, it's great to see familiar faces.
Yeah.
And families.
Miss ka pa rin.
Sige. Can we go to the first slide, please? Okay. So, first slide muna tayo. Gwen? Ayan, thank you. All right. So, first, thank you so much sa Sustainable Development Studies Program of MSc Jensen for having me. Hello, Sir Vidad. Good evening po. Thank you for having me, Ma'am Ava. Thank you. So, for this session, we will be discussing about mainstreaming conflict sensitivity and peace promotion in development interventions. No, recognizing that eventually students of SDS ay mai-involve, karamihan sa inyo most likely magiging development practitioners, whether in government or non-government settings. So I think it's very important in working in conflict-affected and conflict-vulnerable settings or contexts, we are sensitive of the dynamics in the ground. Sige. Pero before we proceed, next slide. Ayan. So I'd like to introduce our office. I don't know if you are all familiar with OPUP. It's an attached agency under the Office of the President. The Office of the Presidential Advisor in the on a peace process is the office mandated to integrate, coordinate, and oversee the implementation of the comprehensive peace process with various groups. So for this administration, we are also tasked to ensure that the 6-point peace and development agenda is implemented. So these are first, the meaningful implementation of the peace agreement with the MILF towards healing and reconciliation in the Bangsamoro. So for this, we're already in the normalization after the signing of the comprehensive agreement on the Bangsamoro, the CAB. Second is the completion of the implementation of the remaining commitments under the GPH-MNLF peace process that was signed in 1996, the final peace agreement. And then the third is the implementation of the whole of nation approach to address local communist and other armed conflicts pursuant to Executive Order number 70. Fourth is the immediate conclusion of the peace processes with RPMP, RPA, ABB. Some of you may not be familiar of this. This is a small group in Negros and some areas in Visayas, and the CBA, CPLA in the Cordilleras. And then fifth is the implementation of the peace-promoting catch-up socioeconomic development in conflict-affected and conflict-vulnerable areas through our Pamana program. And lastly, building of a culture of peace and conflict sensitivity towards positive peace and sustainable human development. And what ito pong ginagawa natin is in consonance of the Agenda 6 of this administration, which is the promotion of culture of peace and conflict sensitivity and peace CSPP in development interventions of both government actors, civil society organizations, and other private partners. So yun po. May I share my screen? Sige. Wait lang. For a while, ha? Sige po. For those who are using their laptop, try po muna natin ito. Here. Ayan, there you go. Nakikita ba? Sorry. Is it visible?
Yes, Miss May.
Okay. So, may I ask you to please open a new tab, go to menti.com and use the code 568008. Tingnan natin.
56.
8008.
Okay, sinend ko sa chat box.
Ayan. Sige, let's see. Before we go to the whole CSPP thing, let's have a review muna of the basic principles of peace, conflict, and violence. And it's very important that we know how much we understand these concepts. Okay? Are we, menti.com, and then may lalabas po doon na parang, and then we key in the code. And answer yung tanong, what comes to your mind when you hear the word conflict? Pag naririnig natin yung conflict, ano ba yung unang-unang pumapasok? Ayan, there you go. Clash, war, table battles, protests, quarrel, violence, dispute, arms, okay? Disagreement, medyo lumalaki yung disagreement, fight, guns, chaos, violence, okay?
Chaos.
Okay, let's see.
Chaos.
There you go. Okay, nakikita nyo ba yung word cloud natin? Okay, war. Sige. Ayan, may mga nag-backbiting. Hatred. Divergence. Sige, what else? Ayan, if we see, kung nakikita natin yung word cloud natin, medyo yung understanding natin ng conflict, medyo nakasentro sa gera, sa war. And second, violence. Kung makita nyo, the bigger the words, ibig sabihin, the more people na nag-key in nitong keyword na to, na sumagot ng keyword na to. So basically, the biggest words here are war, violence, chaos, and there's misunderstandings. Sige, next, let's go to the next. Let's go to the next one. Okay. Kanina conflict. Ngayon naman, what comes to your mind when you hear the word violence? Conflict kanina. Kanina sa conflict, lumabas na yung violence. Pag violence naman, ano yung pumapasok sa isip natin? Death. Okay. Uy, death. Maraming death. Bullets. Blood. Ano ba to? Adobo? Bakit may adobo? Maize. Rice. Casualties. Hurt. Heartless. Damage. Antagonist. Okay, death. So basically, we associate, based sa inyong mga sagot, we associate the word violence mostly talaga to death and pain. Okay, sige, next. Ngayon naman, tingnan natin na ano na natin kanina yung conflict and violence. Tingnan naman natin yung next. Okay, go to another, gawa tayo ng another tab. And here. This is another code ha, sorry. Medyo ano kasi yung medyo free lang yung Menti natin. Okay, menti.com, another tab, and use the code as stated here, 7378783. Love. Okay, what else? Tingnan natin. What are the words you associate with peace? Understanding, development, calm, harmony, acceptance of differences, yes, tranquility, development, dove, lumiit yung development, sustainability, prosperity, freedom, equality, God, serene, silent. Okay. So, ayan, meron pa ba? Calm. So basically, no, we associate talaga peace with calmness, with understanding, harmony. I mean, those are the words that we think about kapag naiisip natin yung peace. Okay, sige, let's go back. Tingnan natin. So those are the things na pumapasok sa utak natin when we hear those words. Pero tingnan natin, ano ba talaga, no? Ano ba talaga yung ibig sabihin nitong mga salitang ito? Sige, I'll stop sharing na, ha? Sige. Gwen, can you share my slides? Okay. So, kanina when we talked about conflict, yung unang-unang talaga pumapasok sa atin, violence, death, gera. But basically, conflict just refers to, tingnan natin. Okay. Sige, next. Next, please. Ayan. Gwen. Ayan. So, from Heidelberg Institute of Conflict Research, say conflict is just perceived incompatibility of intentions between individuals or social groups. According naman to Ramsbottom, it is a pursuit of incompatible goals by different groups. So, kanina, perceive, ngayon, ano na talaga, real incompatibility of goals. So, summing it up, conflict is actually a relationship between two or more parties, individuals, or groups who have or think they have incompatible goals. So, ganun lang siya kasimple. Pupwedeng yung incompatibility ay perceived at pupwede ding real. So, hindi necessary na pag merong conflict or merong panagbangi, may gera na agad or may violence na agad. Pupwede siya nag-e-exist. Kasi conflict, it is natural. It's an ongoing process and it's neither positive nor negative. It just is. Ganun lang talaga siya. And it's embedded in all types of relationships. Now, kung ganun yung conflict, ano naman yung violence? violence as opposed to conflicts. Usually, pag hindi siya na ma-manage na maayos, saka siya nagre-resort to violence. It consists of actions, words, attitudes, structures, or systems that cause physical, psychological, social, or environmental damage that prevent people from reaching their full human potential. So, sinasabi natin na yung violence ay hindi lang death, hindi lang siya yung nabububog ka, hindi lang siya yung gera, pwede siyang mag-refer sa mga salita, sa mga estruktura, sistema na nagpe-prevent sa mga tao na ma-reach niya yung kanyang full human potential. Kanina, diniscuss ni Sir Bidad na poverty is violent. Bakit kaya? Bakit kaya violent yung poverty? Kasi pag wala pala tayong access doon sa mga, pag mahirap ka, wala kang access sa pagkain, pag mahirap ka, wala kang access sa edukasyon, dahil limitado ang access natin sa mga bagay na ito, yung mga potential sana natin na pwede tayong maging ay hindi natin nare-reach. So, yun yung mga sinasabi nating structural naman na pagtingin sa violence. So, violence can either be direct or physical or structural. Okay. Ano naman ang peace? Yung peace, sabi natin, our understanding of violence informs our understanding of peace. Kasi basically, peace is just the absence of violence. So how we conceptualize violence, that will also inform our understanding of peace. If we conceptualize violence as merely yung physical, direct violence lang, yun lang din yung understanding natin.
Hello, Miss May. Oh. Nawala si Miss May for a while po. Baka mahina connection. May bagyo kasi sa Manila. For a while po. Thank you for waiting.
While waiting po for the speakers.
Sorry, nawala ata ako.
Ayun, dito na.
Oh, pasensya na, parating ata yung bagyo dito, nawawala. So, okay, now going back. Sabi natin, yung understanding natin ng violence, it informs our understanding of peace. Kung gaano kababaw or gaano kalalim yung understanding natin. Ganon din kababaw o kalalim yung pagtingin natin sa kapayapaan on how it should look like. Okay, so bakit ito importante sa natin ngayon, sa pag-uusapan natin ngayon? Because these are the basic principles when we talk about conflict sensitivity and peace promotion in development settings. Sige po. Before I proceed, may mga tanong ba tayo?
None so far, ma'am.
None so far. Okay. Sige. Ako na lang. You may raise your hands. Pwedeng makita kung ilan sa atin dito ang already involved na in development work. Either in government or in NGOs. Pa-raise ng hands. May raise hand option ba tong Zoom?
Meron po.
Okay, sige. Please raise your hand kung involved na. Meaning, nagtatrabaho sa government, involved in social services delivery, or sa NGOs, or sa civil society. Meron ba dito sa atin? Wala ata. Sige. Ayan. Literal na hand na lang talaga yung ni-raise, ano? Ayan, there you go. Sige. So, medyo madami, no? Mangilan-ilan na yung already into development work. Sige. Why is it important? Bakit importante ito pag-uusapan natin? Lalo na pag-involve tayo sa development work. So, sabi natin kanina, yung violence is not only gera, yung violence ay hindi lang siya yung may nagpapatayan. Violence comes in many forms. So, next slide. Yes, C. So, the growing concern for peace reflects a reality that fewer and fewer communities actually remain untouched by violence. So, sabi natin, violence comes in different forms: domestic, neighborhood disputes, criminality, long-standing insurgencies in some areas of the country. And these conflict and violence, they are normally attributed to criminal acts, armed struggles, territorial disputes, killings, family, gender-based violence, and in some areas, yung rido or clan wars. However, beyond this, violence may also manifest itself in more structural forms, as discussed nga earlier, such as yung environmental degradation. Kasi pag sira yung environment natin, lagi tayong binabaha kasi maraming basura. That also prevents us from reaching our potential as a community. Poor governance, corruption, poverty. Whatever form it takes, violent conflict has devastating effects on people and communities. So aside from its direct human and economic cost, it also disrupts communities and harm relationships and undermine the gains of human development. So kahit we're working on development interventions in some areas, pag may nangyaring baha, pag may nangyaring gera, that will undermine all the gains of those interventions. No? So as conflict and violence increasingly affect our everyday life, national government, local government units, civil society organizations are called upon to address them. So tayo as a future development practitioners, hopefully, ay may involve din sa ganitong mga causes. All right, next slide. Okay, but go back one click first. Okay, so ayun, in addressing the effects of violent conflicts, ang pinakatanong natin, di ba pag may development interventions tayo, nagdala tayo ng patubig, for instance, sa isang barangay, meron tayong livelihood project sa isang barangay. Our intentions are good, di ba? Gusto natin makatulong sa community. But in working in areas that are conflict affected or conflict vulnerable, yung areas na may ongoing na gera or may ongoing armed conflict, or areas na wala namang gera but polarization is really high, the level of mistrust is high, yung social fabric hindi masyadong maayos, or in areas where katatapos lang, pagpalagay natin agree, post-conflict settings, the main question is, are good intentions enough when it comes to development aid? So apparently, yung sagot dyan, good intentions alone are not enough, as any intervention or project in conflict-affected or conflict-vulnerable areas will inevitably have an impact in a peace and conflict environment, either positive or negative, direct or indirect, intentional or unintentional. Tandaan natin, the moment na pumasok tayo sa isang context, we are no longer separated from that context. We become part of that. Why? Because we interact with the actors in the ground, no? Nag-i-interact tayo sa mga actors na present sa isang community. And our presence, our mere presence there could actually reinforce existing conflicts. It could delegitimize certain actors in the community by merely being there. Remember that any development or peace-building work is not neutral. Walang neutral na development project, lalo na sa mga conflict-affected setting. While all development projects, aids, have good intentions, assuming that they have good intentions, they can inadvertently, sabi nga ni Gwen, create negative impact or exacerbate conflict when not done in conflict-sensitive manner. For instance, a project's stakeholder selection, yung pagpipili natin ng ating mga beneficiaries, might unknowingly reinforce existing power relations in the community. Halimbawa, elite capture. Or create further tension if there is an existing relational tension between, say, feuding clans or ethnic groups that was not considered. A basic example nito, papasok ka sa isang conflict-affected community livelihood project. Tapos, hindi mo alam, you don't have an understanding of the relationship of different ethnic groups in that barangay. Na yung ethnic group, pagpalagay natin, assuming na yung mga Blaan and Maguindanon, hindi maganda yung kanilang relationship, or settler communities, yung mga Bisaya or Maguindanon in a certain barangay, hindi maganda yung kanilang relationship, no? At yung mga nakatira lahat doon sa baybay dagat, sa baybay ba, nagpuyo is mostly mga mostly mga settler communities, Bisaya. Tapos nasa banda towards the inner side sa barangay yung mga Maguindanon. Pumasok ka, nagdala ka ng livelihood project, and you decide, okay, go bangka. Livelihood project for the fisher folks. So, sa'yo, as a development worker, parang, oh, this is good kasi nakatulong ako. Nagkaroon ng kabuhayan yung mga tao, but you are not aware na ang perception pala ng mga tao, hala na ay bias. Bias ni siya kay kanang palibhasa kani nga NGO. Ano magud ni siya kanang Christian magud ni siya nga NGO. Mao na ang ilahang gitagaan og project nila kato mga Bisaya nga naa sa baybay. You see the impact that we do. The intention was good, pero the moment na pumasok tayo, nagbigay tayo, wala naman sa consideration natin yung ethnic affiliations ng beneficiaries. Pero yung design pa lang ng project na bangka is already intended for the people nga nagpuyo sa baybay who happen to be kadaghanan Bisaya. So in communities na may polarization, we have to be very aware of these dynamics in the community, ano? So yun yung sinasabi natin na what do you call that? Yung stakeholder selection pa lang, that could exacerbate existing conflicts when not done in a conflict-sensitive manner, when we are not aware. So while a project might be addressing, sabi nga natin, economic issues, the nature of the relationship in the community or other factors may negatively affect the success of the project. So posible na hindi tayo magkaroon ng buy-in kasi we will be viewed negatively by the people in the community. Yung context or enabling environments where policies, programs, and projects are crucial in identifying the steps to be taken to determine not only the conflict-sensitive approaches, but also to identify peace-promoting interventions. Okay, next slide. In developing deeper awareness on how one's actions or development interventions or PPAs natin, programs, projects, activities relate to conflict and conflict issues, yung UNDG Executive Committee on Human Affairs, UNDG ETCHA, Working Group on Transitions, ay nag-propose sila ng classification on different responses to conflict. So, meron sinasabi natin na it could be some people or some actors choose to work around conflict. So what does that mean? It means like treating conflict as an impediment or negative externality that is to be avoided so that programs continue without being negatively affected by existing conflict in the community. So merong understanding na may conflict but we try not to touch it, iniiwasan siya. So that's what we call working around conflict as much as possible. Meron din naman another approach, working in conflict. that is recognizing the link between programs and conflict. Recognizing that the programs we bring in, the interventions we bring in, will have an interaction in the existing conflict dynamics and making attempts to mitigate the conflict-related risks so that work is not negatively affected. So mitigation pa lang. Or yung third approach naman, working on conflict. This is making deliberate attempts to design policy and programs that seek to exploit opportunities to positively affect conflict dynamics and address key conflict factors. So, ibig sabihin, you can either pwedeng iwasan yung conflict, pwedeng hindi iwasan yung conflict but we try so hard not to exacerbate it, or pwedeng tingnan mo yung conflict as an opportunity for societal change actually. Kasi sabi nga nila, pag may panagbangi, it's a symptom na mayroong mali sa isang context or sa isang community. So, we try to exploit that and gamitin yan to bring about positive change. Now, when we try to address the root causes of these conflicts, hopefully we can bring about positive change in the communities we're working with. Okay, next slide. Okay, next slide. So, ano ba yung conflict sensitivity? Sabi natin, hindi enough na good intentions lang. Kailangan conflict sensitive at least promoting yung approaches natin. But what does CSPP really mean? Okay. CSPP means, number one, understanding the context in which the organization or development actor is operating, particularly yung dynamics of intergroup relations. Second, it's understanding the interaction between the organization or the actor's intervention and the context or yung conflict situation. And lastly, acting upon that understanding in order to avoid negative impacts and maximize positive impacts of the programs, projects, or activities. Next slide. So, ito yun, basically, the what and how. Itong sinabi natin kanina, understanding the context, understanding the interaction of the intervention in the context, and using that understanding to avoid as much as possible negative impacts, and if we can, maximize positive impact. So, the what and how of conflict sensitivity. Sige. Mamaya, iisa-isahin natin yan. No? The CSPP approach, it attempts to address the issues that trigger, if not cause, violent conflicts in the communities. It employs targeted and deliberate. Hindi pwedeng accidental lang yung pagiging conflict-sensitive ng intervention mo. Kailangan targeted siya at deliberate siya in the identification and planning of interventions that are meant to mitigate, if not address, yung conflict triggers natin, as well as in monitoring and evaluation of projects to ensure that CSPP is observed all throughout the implementation process of the different interventions. So, ibig sabihin, bakit importante na CSPP din yung ating monitoring and evaluation? Because when we monitor and evaluate while the project is ongoing, we make adjustments on the side na parang, ay teka, eto pala, hindi pala siya CSPP. Eto pala, nag-cause pala siya ng misunderstanding sa area na to or sa mga beneficiaries na to. Baka kailangan natin baguhin yung approach natin. So, kailangan yung M&E natin, ano din siya, di ba? CSPP din siya, conflict sensitive din siya. So, how do we actually do this, no? Parang, ano ba yan? Parang overarching catch-all statement lang ba yan, yung CSPP? So, we say hindi. Kasi yung CSPP is actually, it's a principle. At the same time, it's a tool. Para sa atin, mga project managers, development practitioners, it is a tool na pwede nating gamitin sa pag-analyze ng mga proyekto natin in conflict-affected and conflict-vulnerable settings. So, meron tayong 5 steps ng CSPP practice. Number 1, analyzing the context, understanding the practice, undertaking risk and opportunity assessment. Hindi ko alam kung napag-aralan na ba natin ito, but if you're in the development work, familiar tayo dito sa ROA, assessing the peace, the impact of the practice, and lastly, enhancing the peace initiative. Sige, isa-isahin po natin. May tanong po ba before tayo pumunta sa mga CSPP steps? Wala? Sige, let's go. Next slide. Previous slide. Okay. So step 1 is analyzing the context of the context, analyzing the context, and that includes conflict analysis. So basically, yung conflict analysis natin, it is the practical process of examining and understanding the reality or the context of the conflict from a variety of perspectives, which becomes the basis now for the strategies, actions, and plans. So marami tayong tools. We can use several tools for this, no? So doing conflict analysis, it aims to understand the background history of the situation as well as the current mga events, mga pangyayari. Identifying all the relevant groups and actors involved in a conflict, understanding the perspectives of these groups. Kailangan maintindihan natin kung saan sila nanggagaling, whether or not we agree with their causes, knowing how these actors actually relate to each other, identify factors and trends that underpin conflicts, and learning from failures and successes of the past projects. So marami tayong pwedeng gamiting tools dito. Nilagay ko dito sa gilid, meron tayong conflict tree analysis tools. So basically, ano lang yan, yung causes, yun yung roots, yung core problem or yung core conflict, yun yung parang trunk niya, and then may mga sanga-sanga siya, basically effects. So when we do conflict analysis this way, minsan kasi yung nakikita nating effect, akala natin yun yung root cause. Pero pag minap out natin siya, may mga deeper causes pa pala nitong mga bagay-bagay. And we can also do critical historical timelining. Basically, ano lang yun assessing yung mga events in the past and analyzing yung relationships ng mga events. Paano yung isang event nag-lead to another event. Okay, next step. So basically, marami pa, no? There are other tools available when we do conflict analysis. So basically, yung mga tools na yon, meron silang four actually. There are 4 things that they look into. Yung conflict analysis is basically concerned siya. It's interested in the conflict profile, conflict causes, conflict actors, and conflict dynamics. So profile, ito yung ano ba yung socio-economic political context, ano yung social issues na emergent, alin yung specific areas na conflict prone or conflict affected, meron bang history of conflict, ito bang conflict na ito ay nanggaling na sa conflict in the past or bago siya. Ano yung causes ng panagbangi? Structural causes, direct causes, ina-identify yon. Actors, sino-sino yung mga actors involved? Sino-sino yung mga main actors na involved? Si barangay captain ba? Involved ba siya? Si mayor ba? Involved ba siya? Or si commander ba? Nandoon sa barangay, wala siyang direct power, pero malaki yung influence niya sa mga tao, mga ganon. Institutional capacities, no? Can be identified. Yung local government ba, are they capable of actually mending existing conflict or conflict party din sila? Dynamics, ano yung conflict trends? May mga windows of opportunities ba? So, ano yung mga possible scenarios na pwede nating ma-develop from the analysis of conflict profile, causes, and actors? So, medyo mabilis kasi this whole conflict analysis thing, medyo separate cost to, no? Malaliman to. Basically, this is just an introduction of how CSPP is done. Sige, next. Okay, the conflict-sensitive frame, no, in CSPP, this ensures that the conflict triggers are carefully analyzed, i.e., for example, like the actors, issues, resources, and interests of different actors are assessed in terms of how the interplay of these factors create
Nawala na po siya. Sorry po for the technical difficulties. Siguro po before po bumalik yung speaker natin, siguro po we can have a 1-minute break po. Siguro mag-CR muna tayo or whatsoever kasi nagkakaproblema po kasi doon sa connectivity nila. Thank you po.
Or before bumalik si Miss May na lang, Reggie, plug ko na lang yung mga future webinars din natin, no? For November 7 and 14.
Yes, Chris.
So we also have a webinar on November 7 on the Adaptation and Mitigation Initiative for a Climate Resilient Agriculture using GIS. And for November 14, we will have the Interconnectedness on Human Health, Climate Change, and Society. We will send separate invites through Zoom links for the 2 webinars. So for all na present for tonight's webinar, we request you to attend also those aforementioned webinars, no, for November 7 and 14, and hope to see you there.
Okay. Hi, sorry nawala ako. Pasensya na po, nawawala-wala yung internet ko.
It's alright, ma'am.
Ayan. So, yun nga, let's go back. No? Or please let me know kung masyado ako mabilis or if you have questions along the way, please pwede natin gamitin yung chat box. I'll try to answer them. Or just raise your hands kung masyado mabilis. Okay. So, yung conflict-sensitive frame, nakikita nyo ba yung gilid? Yung gilid niyan, yeah, basically, parang ganyan yung conflict analysis di ba? Yung intervention, meaning yan yung project natin. All throughout the project process, planning, implementation, monitoring, and evaluation, tinitingnan natin yung relationship ng project sa context, sa dynamics, sa causes, at sa actors. Ayan. So, this frame, ay natin kanina, it looks at how conflict triggers, sabi nga natin, are manipulated or radicalized by armed threat groups to suit their purposes. So note that yes, so it's very important that we also understand yung mga spoilers natin on the side na may not be part of the context but may make things worse for the community. Okay, next. Step 2. Understanding the practice or yung tinatawag nating critical detail mapping. So, una, we understand the context. So, okay na yon. Second, we also understand yung practice. So, na-understand natin yung community, yung conflict context. Understanding naman, ano yung intervention natin? We have to understand to unpack the details of our intervention. So this includes mapping and unpacking the critical details of our project, such as yung beneficiaries, partners, stakeholders. In terms of operations, kasama dyan yung hiring natin, procurement, security, specifics of policies. Dyan pumapasok yung paano natin sineset yung criteria natin, and then yung constraints natin, yung mandate natin, budget natin as organization. So etong nasa gilid, sorry. Okay. So yung nasa gilid, this is what we call a CDM, CDM map tool. So pwede natin gamitin yan when we unpack our practice. So we try to analyze in terms of targeting, paano ba natin sineselect yung recipients natin or yung participants ng training? Pag nagdadala ba tayo ng project sa community, yung recipients ba or yung participants ba, yung kakilala lang natin? Or sila ba yung mga kapareho lang natin ng political affiliation? We have to be mindful of those things, though, how we select our stakeholders in the community. Second, resources. What kind of resources do we bring in? And how do we decide what resources to bring in? Do we come in the community na meron na tayong dalang package, na one size fits all package, or do we ask the community ano yung kailangan nila, and we try to address the needs identified by the community? So let's be aware of that. Staffing. How do we hire staff? Do we bring in staff from other places, or do we mobilize the existing human resource in the community to help us aid the project? Kasi meron ding ano yan, no? Meron ding implications yan in terms of how our projects will succeed or fail eventually. Working with authorities. How do we interact with local authorities, no? Especially there are areas na minsan it's not easy also to coordinate with the local governments, with the mayor or the barangay captain. How do we deal with those things? No? Ano ba yung strategies and approaches natin na gagamitin natin? Or there are also in some cases meron tayong mga informal gatekeepers. Wala naman siyang posisyon sa barangay or wala naman siyang posisyon sa munisipyo or sa city, pero yung influence niya on decision makers is strong. So how do we interact with those formal and informal authorities in the community, in the areas that we want to work with? How do we design and implement the interventions? So kailangan alam din natin yon. Hanggang saan lang ba yung kakayanin ng project natin? Baka pag pumasok tayo, we might end up, alam mo yan, yung raising expectations from the community, and then yung expectations na yon hindi pala natin kayang ma-meet because of some constraints on budget, on mandate, etc. So these are the things that we need to ask ourselves when we try to understand our practice and we try to unpack yung ating intervention. Okay, next step 3. Ayan, the third step is undertaking the risk and opportunity assessment. So for project managers, they're very familiar with row 1, no? Assessing the risk and opportunities in the community. This begs the question. Sige. All right. This begs the question, is there room to work in the area, or are the levels of violence too high that we also compromise the safety and security of our staff? Are there peace opportunities too low? Yan, ina-assess natin yon. Or is our project, is our intervention appropriate? That is, does it have the right ingredient for success? Meaning yung personnel, operating procedures natin, peace and conflict sensitivities. What needs to be done to reduce the chances of failure ng project natin because of the conflict? So there are some areas that we need to look into when we are doing a ROA, or risk and opportunity of assessment. So these are, number 1, location. Tingnan natin yung lokasyon. Ito ba, location na to, tama ba to? Project local natin, conflict sensitive ba siya? Timing, is the timing right? No? Is the timing right na papasok yung project natin in a community, or papasok tayo as external actors, no, in the community? How about the political context? Are there enabling, disabling factors in terms of political situation in the area? Economic context. Ano naman yun? How is the economic situation of the people in the community? Are they able to, for example, papasok tayo doon, tapos sabi natin, hindi, kailangan 40% talaga yung ano ng community dyan, yung kanilang share, ang tawag doon? Nakalimutan ko na. Yung share ng community sa project, 40% of the cost, kasi yan yung sabi ng funder namin. Yung mga tao nga doon, mahirap kumain. So we also have to look at these things, to consider these things. Military issues are the presence of especially in conflict affected and conflict vulnerable settings, are the presence of military actors nagsiserve ba siya as enabling or disabling factor for our projects? How do we relate to them, no? How do we coordinate with them, for instance? Yung social and cultural environment, ano ba yung mga cultural sensitivities that we need to also to look into, kasi we might end up offending some people, offending the groups that we want to engage in the process because we are not aware of their cultural sensitivities. partners and stakeholders. Sino-sino yung mga tao, connectors, kumbaga in the ground that we can partner with, stakeholders that we can engage, that will make our project more successful, no? More peace promoting, kumbaga. And other factors na po pwede nating tignan. Sige, questions? May tanong ba? Wala? Sige, kung wala, balik tayo sa step 4. Kung medyo mabilis, please let me know. Sige. Lastly, hindi pa pala lastly. Step 4 is, di ba? Step 1, we assess the conflict context. Step 2, we assess the practice. We understand our practice. Step 3, what was step 3 nga? We
Risk and
undertake
opportunity assessment.
Yes, Rowa. Now, step 3, we undertake risk and opportunity assessment. Step 4, Step 4, ito na, we assess, after nung risk and opportunity assessment, i-assess naman natin ngayon yung impact ng ating project. So remember, in CSPP or in conflict-affected and conflict-vulnerable areas, meron tayong tinatawag na peace-building impact and conflict-creating impact. Ano bang ibig sabihin nun? Peace-building impact, these are structures and processes which strengthen the prospects for intergroup peace and decrease the likelihood of armed outbreaks, escalation, recurrence, or continuation of violent conflict. Bakit natin ina-emphasize na violent conflict? Kasi nga, di ba, sa basic principles natin kanina, conflict is not necessarily a negative thing. It just is. It's not negative, it's not positive, natural lang yan. But violent conflict, ito yung kailangan nating bantayan because it prevents people from reaching their full human potential. At meron namang conflict-creating impact na pwedeng dalhin ng ating mga interventions or projects in the community. These are structures and processes that increase the probability that violent methods will be used to address the conflict. Sige, ano ba yun? Paano ba ibig sabihin nun? Para klaro, ayan, tayo? Example tayo ng water system in a conflict-vulnerable setting. Sige, kunyari, meron tayo level 2 water system sa isang barangay. Next slide, please. Next slide. Yes, ayan, naibumba. So, in assessing the impacts of a development project in a conflict-affected or conflict-vulnerable setting, it is not enough, that we only consider the development indicators, but also, more importantly, we should consider the conflict and peace indicators. Kasi karamihan tayo, when we do our projects in the community, yung binibilang natin, di ba? Yung quantitatively, binibilang lang natin, ilang households ang nag-benefit dyan. Nagbigay tayo ng water system, nag-benefit siya ng 50 households na dati walang access sa potable water. Na-reach natin yung objective natin, pat in the back, very good, okay na tayo. Pero remember, when we were working in conflict-affected, conflict-vulnerable settings, the tensions are high, hindi enough na development indicator lang yung tinitingnan natin. For example, yung increased number of households with access to potable water. Tingnan din natin, ilang conflicts ba yung na-cause ng project natin dahil nag-away-away yung community over water distribution? Diba? Kailangan part yun ng assessment natin when we evaluate our projects. Did our project actually cause conflict? Oo, nagka-access yung 50 na tao, pero dahil doon, nagka-conflict siya. I remember, we've had mga water projects in the past. After a few months, wala na, sira na yung water project. Hindi na nag-ooperate yung water system. Bakit? Dahil may conflict, giputol ang tubo. Or from the tank, hindi na siya bumababa sa community dahil may conflict. Dumaan dun sa niagi sa lupa sa isa ka family. And they don't like it, they're not supportive of the project, giputol ang tubo. O giputol ang tubo, na wala access ang tao sa community, it actually brought about conflict, no? Nagkita sa barangay. So these are things na minsan we don't consider, but when we work in conflict-affected, conflict-vulnerable setting, we have to be aware of these things. Or, baka naman yung project natin, aside from increasing the access of several households to potable water, meron din siyang peace indicators. It could be na because we organized them before giving the water system, inorganize natin sila into an association, BAWASA, Barangay Water System Association, no? At yung BAWASA na yon, we made sure that it is inclusive, it is tri-people, kung sa tri-people community ba tayo. And because of that association, hindi lang actually access to water yung na-bring about ng project natin, but also better communal relationship sa barangay. Kasi nagmi-meeting na sila lagi silang nag-uusap, and as a community, they are involved collectively in the joint management of the project, making sure that the project is sustained. So you see, the projects that we bring in, hindi lang development yung dinadala natin doon sa community. We can exacerbate conflict or promote peace because of simple development projects. So, important that we take that into mind. Okay. Step 5, enhancing the peace effectiveness. So, nag-analyze na tayo ng conflict, nag-unpack na tayo ng ating intervention, nag-conduct na tayo ng risk and opportunity assessment, nag-conduct na rin tayo ng impact assessment, peace and conflict impact assessment ng ating project. Lastly, eto na yon. How do we enhance our projects, our interventions, based on the assessments that we have conducted, based on the analysis that we have conducted? So, meron tayong it's one of the tools that we use. Actually, it's called Reflecting on Peace Practice Matrix. So, sabi kasi natin, no, dapat yung mga interventions in conflict affected and conflict vulnerable communities, let us assume that they are not only development interventions but also peace interventions or peace practices. So this is this matrix. It's a 4-cell matrix that permits analysis of program strategies in several dimensions, but looking at different approaches of the project, who is being engaged, and what type of change is being sought. So, yung type of change ba natin is on the individual or personal level or on a societal level? Whom do we engage? More people, like maramihan, or we engage the key people in the project? Okay, next slide. So basically, all peace practice or all development projects can be categorized along the lines of who needs to be engaged, no? More people approach, the theory behind this is that the achievement of peace depends on the involvement of the people, ng karamihan, ng kalahatan. Yung key people approach naman, these are key people, they are the people key to the conflict dynamics and are able to decide, mataas yung level of influence actually, and they are able to decide or strongly influence decisions for or against peace and are able to spoil or undermine peace. Okay, what type of change do we aim? Individual ba or personal change or the socio-political change? So halimbawa meron tayong next paano ba to? How do we operationalize this now? Halimbawa, we have a radio program or a TV program that transmits peace messages on tolerance and coexistence through, I don't know, soap opera or talk show on a very broad audience. So this program or this intervention essentially operates at the more people, individual, personal level because the essential aim naman niya is to change many people's attitudes about certain issues, groups, and about dealing with the conflict. However, itong program na to, meron siyang 80% viewership, maraming nanonood among the general population. So, with that scale, yung change niya, it approached change at the socio-political level kasi nga marami na siyang naaabot because of the numbers reached, the potential for changing public opinion, and ultimately, social norms. No? So that's how we reflect on the practices that we do. So why is it important that we create linkages or transferring impacts for peace effectiveness? Next, please. Next. Ayan, yan. So the work that stays within any of the quadrant, yung pinakita natin kanina, reflecting on peace practice quadrant, hindi siya enough to build momentum for significant change. Any individual program aiming to contribute to peace will have more impact if it affects transfer to other quadrants doon sa matrix natin. So impacts for broader peace are more significant if personal transformations are translated into actions at the socio-political level. Meaning if it affects policies or if it nag-generate ba siya ng bagong social norms, no? Sometimes, but not always, work is necessary at the individual and personal level to ensure that socio-political changes are sustained and internalized in the behavior of individuals. Minsan, when we do like behavioral change communication, we start at the individual level, hoping that individual change will bring about bigger societal change. So activities at the socio-political level to engage more people must link strategically to activities to engage key people. Kasi minsan, we get the support of the more people. Pero yung mga gatekeepers natin, yung mga key people natin who actually have a say in policies, hindi natin na-engage sa project. Or hindi natin na-secure yung buy-in. So kahit may support tayo ng maraming tao, kung yung nag-a-approve ng budget, walang support, o yung nag-a-approve ng, sige, pwede kayong pumasok o hindi, walang support, medyo mahihirapan din tayo doon, no? So if we want, no, these two things, they need to be interlinked properly. Okay? Questions on the 5 steps? Ano nga yun? What was the first step nga? Balikan natin.
Conflict analysis.
Okay, conflict analysis. A second step? Ano yun? Anyone?
Understanding the practice.
Yes, understanding the practice. Third is?
Risk and opportunity assessment.
Yes, may sumagot kanina. Risk and opportunity assessment. Number 4, step 4?
Assessing impact of the practice.
Yes, reflecting the impact of the, assessing the impact of the practice. And lastly, yung sinabi natin kanina, very recent, is the peace
enhancing the peace effectiveness.
Enhancing the peace effectiveness. So basically, no, all in all, principles of conflict-sensitive and peace-promoting practice, simple lang naman. We need to ensure inclusion, meaning everyone is involved in the entire project, no one is left behind. And especially, di ba sabi nila, nothing about us without us. Kung ang project ay para sa mga kababaihan, we make sure that the women are engaged. If the project is for the children, we make sure, more importantly, that the children are engaged in the whole thing, no? From planning to implementation, monitoring, evaluation. Importante yun, we ensure inclusion. Participation, the voice of everyone, lalo na yung marginalized are heard and considered. Kasi minsan, when some voices are not heard or are not considered, nagkakos yan ng conflict, no? Nagkakos yan ng conflict in the community. Responsiveness, we need to understand the needs of the people in order for us to be responsive to these needs, in order for us to assess to these needs. Kaya nga minsan, no, especially in development work, as much as possible sana, kung pwede, wag tayong magdadala ng one size fits all na project sa isang community. Na pagdating natin doon, Kap, may project po kami. Ito, Kap, blah, 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 blah. Kap, may paano po kami? May tawag dyan, palengke. Magtatayo tayong palengke, Kap. Ganito. Hindi pala kailangan ng tao ng palengke. Or, Kap, tatayo tayong daycare center. Wala palang mga bata doon sa community. So it's very important na we understand the needs of the community. We ask them what are their needs and address these needs. Consequently, transparency, it's one of the very important thing to consider, no? Especially if we're working in conflict-affected and conflict-vulnerable areas where the level of mistrust is very high. Lalo na in areas na sanay na sa corruption, lalo na in areas na sanay na sa abuso. We have to be transparent para mapakita natin yung sincerity natin sa ating mga stakeholders, sa mga partner beneficiaries natin. No? All relevant information must be accessible to all concerned. Accountability. Recognition that the mandate, accountability, ito naman in terms of government ito, no? Na the state stems from the sovereign right of the people. Tayo naman, as development practitioners, kung hindi man tayo sa government, we also have to be accountable doon sa dinadala nating interventions, whether or not these interventions actually brought harm or good in the community. We have to make ourselves accountable kasi nga parte na tayo ng konteksto. Social cohesion, no? The deliberate effort to use peace-building projects in promoting social cohesion. Sabi nga natin kanina, 'di ba? Ang CSPP hindi siya pwedeng unintended consequence lang ng isang development project. It needs to be targeted and deliberate. Reconciliation, it is the conscious effort to contribute to mending the rifts and discords in the community caused by armed conflicts or violent conflicts. This also covers efforts to mend the wounds, healing, basically social healing in the community, lalo na in post-conflict and post-violent conflict setting. And community resilience, we try to empower the institutions, to improve social capacity of the community so that they can collectively address and mitigate the effects of the armed conflict. Sabi nga nila, the pinaka-dream talaga, no? The pinaka-dream ng mga development workers, ng mga community mobilizers is when the community does not need them anymore. That's the ultimate dream. Kapag hindi na tayo kailangan ng community kung saan tayo nagtatrabaho, we've done our job. Kasi kaya na nila. Yun yung dream. Hindi yung dream na we make them reliant on us. No, that's not, hindi yan yung dili na mo ang pinakatumong, no? Ang pinakatumong is, andun lang tayo to assist them for a certain time being, to increase their capacity, to help them address their own issues and concerns. At pag hindi na tayo nila kailangan, pag sabing, sir, ma'am, hindi na, dili na, okay na mi, ma'am. We can mobilize on our own. Pwede na kadili mo balik, then we can say that we've done our job well as development practitioners. Okay. So, ayan, malapit na po tayong matapos. Pasensya na, mahaba-haba ito. Engagement with conflict context. So, in a nutshell, being conflict sensitive and peace promoting is, number one, we avoid negative effects, we build on positive effects, and we contribute to peace. So, ano ibig sabihin nito? Next slide. Avoiding negative effects at a minimum, no? At the very least, engagement in conflict context should seek to avoid exacerbating conflict. Pag di ka nakatulong, utang na loob, huwag tayong dadagdag sa issue, sa tension in the community. Kung hindi tayo makakatulong, at least avoid making things worse, no? Second, building on positive peace. If we can, let us try to build on working on the in conflict, meaning building on positive peace effects in a conflict requires close attention to what is already working to bring people together and the ways groups are overcoming their divisions. This means like strategic programming choices can help build on existing connectors. Yung sinabi natin kanina, maghanap ng tao, ng stakeholders na makakatulong, people that can help connect the community and further reduce divisions in these contexts. And lastly, contribute. No, eto sana as much as possible kung mag-work tayo in conflict-affected, conflict-vulnerable areas, let's make it a big goal that our programs, projects, and activities would contribute to peace, no? That these interventions would address conflict dynamics directly by strategically planning how we design it to reduce the key drivers of conflict, build upon the key driving factors for peace. Okay. So the peace promoting component naman ng CSPP approach mainly deals mainly with interventions that directly or indirectly address the conflict triggers. So these may include actual projects such as water system, road, livelihood, electrification, or capacity building projects, trainings, for LGU, civil society organizations, people's organizations na existing na doon, or if necessary, national government agencies, minsan kailangan din natin silang i-capacitate, no? The idea here is to help the community in addressing the conflict triggers or in mitigating, no, the negative effects of conflicts, for government agencies to build, improve, or strengthen the institutional capacity of concerned national and local agencies and units to address the systemic structural problems, removing, therefore, the issues that violent conflicts can, the issues that violent conflicts bring about, and wag naman sana would mga threat groups would manipulate and radicalize. Okay. So, dito naman, this is just a sample of how peace-promoting interventions look. So, nag-ano tayo, triggers of causes or conflict-sensitive assessment, and yung intervention natin is the peace-promoting response. So, basically, yung conflict sensitivity is more on the assessment, and yung peace-promoting is how we act based on that assessment or yung intervention na natin. Halimbawa, so, tingnan natin, sa community na to, may poor governance. Yung mga tao, pakiramdam nila na neglect sila ng gobyerno, walang justice mechanism. So intervention, pwede nating i-capacitate yung barangay, local governments para ma-help improve yung institutions, or pwede tayong mag-initiate ng development projects, increasing access to social services, or we can push for policy reforms to strengthen yung convergence of national and local institutions and service deliveries. So, ganun, no? So, basically, ganun lang siya. In a nutshell. Sige po. Thank you. That ends my pasensya na po. Medyo lumampas ako sa oras. But,
Thanks po, Mami.
yes, that's a conflict sensitivity and peace promotion. Please follow OPAP, regular updates on the peace process. Please log in po sa aming website, www.peace.gov.ph, para we will be informed po kung ano po yung mga nangyayari sa peace process. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter. Wala pa po kaming Instagram, pero may Facebook at Twitter na yung OPAP. Yan. So yun po. Thank you so much. Questions? I'll be more than willing to answer if there are questions.
So, thank you po sa ato ang speaker karon. Yes.
Unay.
It is very a pleasure nang to have you here in our webinar. So, thank you for sharing your insight and knowledge about being conflict sensitive and peace promoting in making or in implementing projects. And now, in this juncture, we'll now proceed to our open forum. If you have questions in minds or clarification about the topic, you can raise your hand or by tapping the icon button at the bottom end of your screen. So we will recognize your question po. Or you may also type your questions in the chat box po. So, questions po. Questions? Any questions?
Miss May, this is Ray. I'm from
Yes,
a private. I'm a from a private firm. My question po, ma'am, is about the current situation of the armed struggle po, no, of the pangalanan na lang natin na mga NPAs, ganon. Especially po here in our private firm na or actually, well, some of our mga delivery trucks, no, are being halted by these people para, well, so that they can para makahingi ng pera, Ganon. Kasi in a company as big as this one, they are actually parang isa sa mga reasons why we are actually not expanding. No? So ano po yung mga efforts ng OPAP, ma'am, to help these people, no? And then also the private firms and companies, no? Para magkaroon siya ng resolution.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So, first, no, the mandate of OPAP talaga basically is to coordinate, integrate, and oversee the comprehensive peace process. So, we understand that we have several groups. No? Meron tayong mga groups, partners, hopefully we call them peace partners. Then, iba-iba, no, na may iba-ibang pinaglalaban. So, what we do, for now, kasi, as per directive of the president, yung ating peace process with the main CPPA, NPA, NDF, CNN is halted. No, merong mga conditions that was laid out by the administration for the negotiation to para mabalik to proceed. But what we're doing now is meron tayong executive order number 7P. Basically, OPAP is involved in localized peace engagement. So we try to do negotiations pa din with them, but on a local level. Dati kasi yung negotiation natin with them on a national level. So now we're trying to negotiate with groups in the ground, local counterparts nila. No, hopefully na if we can come up with peace deals with them, hopefully matigil na nga etong mga these issues that you've also raised na minsan they impede, no, the development of social service delivery or projects sa mga communities natin. So as far as OPAP is concerned, we have Pamana projects. These are socioeconomic projects in conflict affected areas, and at the same time we're also trying to we are part of the localized peace engagement. It's an interagency naman na effort of the government. So, ayun. So, wala tayong national peace negotiation for now. We still do not know, no, kung babalik ba siya or what will be the course of the peace process with the CNN. Pero hindi naman tayo humihinto doon. We're still trying to negotiate at the local level and involve doon yung mga local government units. Kasi most of the time, yung mga LGUs naman talaga ang nakakaalam ng issues in the community. Yung mga LGUs yung nakakaalam ng mga grupo na nasa lugar nila. So that's why we tap the LGUs to directly negotiate with these groups, yung local counterparts ng mga groups.
Right. Thank you po, Miss May.
Okay.
Hi, Miss May.
Hi, Besh.
Hi, former friend. Mag-ask kong question.
Oh, yes.
What happens to your office every time the president nag-retract siya na di na makipag-negotiate? Diba it happened in the past like multiple times na at first we'll bring the NPA or the MLLF in the negotiation table. Tapos pag mag-tantrum siya atras na naman. So, kamo na nasa OPAP, you are the agency that handles the negotiations. What happens to you? How do you resolve the internal conflict?
Well, the thing with peace with the peace process in itself, two track kasi siya, 'di ba? Number one is a negotiated political settlement, and second naman is yung peace and development interventions natin in the form of development projects in the community. So yung mga development projects natin in conflict-affected, conflict-vulnerable communities, patuloy pa rin naman yon. For example, like communities of MNLF, MILF, even communities of CNN, patuloy pa rin yon, yung mga projects natin. However, sabi nga natin, since peace negotiations, these are politically negotiated, no? Negotiated political settlements. So the directive really comes from the head of state or the head of government. And nangyari na yan in the past. For example, like our negotiation with the MILF, depending on the priority of the administration, nagbabago-bago siya. There was a time nag-all-out war tayo. Afterwards, bubalik tayo sa negotiating table. So that's what we're saying. Peace negotiation, it's not it's not a linear, hindi linear yung progression niya, no? It can, sabi mo nga, na bumabalik, nawawala, bumabalik, nawawala. But what is important is that we do not stop in terms of engaging, no? Engaging kung wala mang formal negotiation on a national level, we do not stop engaging with the groups. Kasi at the end of the day, we encourage at the end of the day, we recognize that these groups are our peace partners, that there can never be peace. Mahirap mag-bring about ng development in an area na may gera or may armed conflicts. Diba? Mahirap mag-bring about ng positive peace kung walang negative peace from the very beginning. So, ganun lang yun. Priorities of the administration may change, but the role of OPAP, kasi OPAP is a presidential advisor to the president, basically, no? Peace process advisor. The role of OPAP is to as much as possible come up with justification, come up with CSW, kumbaga, and why we should continue or we should pause our negotiations with certain groups. Ayan. But regardless kung meron tayong formal peace talks with certain groups, it doesn't mean na humihinto din yung office in engaging and working with the communities na involved.
Thanks, Miss May.
Sige po.
Reg, I got a question.
Yes, sino po yan?
Al po.
Yes, Sir Al.
This is with regards to Bangsamoro, no? Recently, parang dito sa Sultan Kudarat, merong agri-ecotourism spot which is called yung Stallion Farm. It used to be a parang kuta ng MILF under Commander Stallion. And Bangsamoro seems to be working, parang they've transformed that area. So yung mga nangangalaga doon are actually from dating rebels, and now they are into that agri-ecotourism spot. Yung concern ko lang is that yes, these MILF seem to be converted or they've aligned with the thrust of the government. But what if another separatist group would come in and would again, say, encourage these people, join us, and then we have to go through arms again and things like those.
Yes. So I understand that could totally happen. Posibleng mangyari yun. That's why, kaya nga sabi natin, that's why it's very important that we support yung current the BARM. Kasi yung BARM project natin, it's a make or break. This negotiation with the MILF, ang tagal bago nabuo ito. Ilang stalls ang nangyari, no? Ilang spoilers, ilang mga offshoots ang nabuo out of these groups. So, sabi nga namin, this is already a make or break negotiation. If this peace process with them fails, baka mahirapan na ulit tayo to come up with another negotiation. So, now what we're doing is we try to parang at least from the side of the government and also the MILF, no, whatever it is that was agreed, ginagawan po yun ng dalawang parties ng paraan na ma-comply yung nakapaloob sa CAB, Comprehensive Agreement on the Bangsamoro. Kasi ang ano kasi natin, 'di ba? Meron tayong push and pull factors in terms of joining groups, 'di ba? Merong push factors, meaning mga factors na nagpo-push o tumutulak sa mga tao na hindi pa naman miyembro na maging miyembro ng mga spoiler groups, or pull factors that would entice people to join in sa mga spoiler groups natin. And that's what we are trying to address here. Kaya nga sabi natin, importante na yung development interventions natin are responsive to the needs of the community para maiwasan natin na ma-exploit ng mga armed groups yung mga issues and concerns, no? Importante that we put our trust, especially in the context of MILF peace process, it is the sincerity and trust of both parties is very important. So it's important that we put our trust in the BARM government that they will make do, no, na magagawa nila yung kanilang ipinangako sa ipinangako, no, to transform BARM talaga, to transform BARM para makamit yung minimithi nila na self-determination, for them to be able to determine talaga what kind of development that will work for them. So yun. What we're trying now, we're working para mawala yung mga push and pull factors na magtutulak sa mga tao na sumali sa mga violent extremist groups. We're working with the BARM government para tulungan tayo. We're trying to assist the BARM government to set up. And very recently, kaka-approve lang ng administrative code ng BARM. So that's a big step, no? Kasi ayun, appointed pa yung mga officers nila, but eventually magkakaroon na rin ng election. So ayun, we're hoping na this will be the last peace process na gagawin natin for the Bangsamoro. We're hoping na ito na yung last kasi hindi na natin kailangan.
Thank you for the answer po.
Okay. Sige, other questions? Ano naman? Yung sa CSPP naman. Na-talk. Although, of course, I will still be very open to answer your OPAP questions. But CSPP, yung ano natin, yung pinag-usapan natin kanina. By the way, yung CSPP pala na binigay ko, that's just like an overview, no? Kasi meron talaga tayong training na ginagawa na conflict sensitivity and peace promotion, but that's like a 5-day course yan. Iniisa-isa yung mga tools, ina-assess talaga yung mga projects, and OPAP is working with different organizations para ma-promote yung ganitong lens in development programming.
Now, I think
yes.
Sir Jed privately messaged you a question.
Okay. I think hindi ko na po nahanap dahil nawala ako. I can no longer, hindi ko na ma-access ang isa chat box. Bakante na po yung chat box ko. I'm sorry. Pero Sir Jed, if you can reiterate siguro your question. Sorry. Nawala po kasi ako, so hindi ko na ma-access yung chat box. Nawala, na-delete na yung previous messages because of napuputol-putol.
Yung question niya po, Ms. May, goes like this po. As a conflict resolution practitioner in the context of COVID issue, ano ang makita niya na small conflicts and meron sanang resolution na namimiss lang siguro ang most LGUs? Because either swamp or hindi nakikita, top 3 maybe, how would you advise to resolve those conflicts?
What kind of conflicts are we referring here, sir? Sorry? What kind of specific conflicts? Kasi let's understand that the idea of conflict resolution, hindi naman siya one size fits all. It's very important. Like how do you resolve a conflict? Parang CSPP din yan in development intervention. It's important that you know the issues at hand. You understand the actors, the interest of the actors, no? Ano yung mga interest nila? Iba minsan kasi yung interest ng mga conflict parties, iba sa sinasabi nila. So it's important, no, if as a conflict manager, it's important na naiintindihan natin yung interest ng mga conflicting parties ay yung mga actors involved, and try to come up with, if we act as mediator, we try to come up with resolutions na nanggagaling mismo sa conflicting parties. Kasi yun yung pinaka iniiwasan natin, no? As conflict managers, lalo pag nagme-mediate tayo, iniiwasan natin maging arbitrary. We can suggest, we can recommend, siguro as external actors or as third parties, but we do not impose our proposed resolutions in conflict situations. Importante na nanggagaling siya doon sa conflict actors kasi pag nanggaling sa kanila mayroong ownership. Remember, a resolution, after ng resolution, susunod yan implementation. So, mahirap mag-implement ng isang agreement kapag hindi siya nanggaling doon sa conflict parties mismo. Kasi walang ownership. Sinabing, inano lang naman yan eh. In-impose lang naman sa amin yan. So, hindi namin susundin. So, ganun lang. I don't know what kind of conflicts we are specific conflicts, sir, that we are referring, but in general, that's how that's how conflict resolution works. Importante that we have a comprehensive understanding of the issues and interests at hand. We have comprehensive understanding of the actors involved, the causes that they represent, the interests that they represent, and that we're able to facilitate resolutions coming from conflicting parties na hindi sa atin mismo nanggagaling na ini-impose natin. I hope I answered your question, sir. Any more questions?
Any more questions, po? Are there any questions? So, if wala na po, so siguro let's call it a night. And for those people po who are asking for the recording of this webinar, please fill out po the registration form so that we can have your email address. I-email na lang po namin sa inyo. And now, let us proceed to the awarding of certificates. So, may I request Diane to award the certificates?
Okay, so, good evening everyone. At this moment, we will be awarding these certificates to our speaker, our advisor, and to all the participants. Certificate of Appreciation is presented to May Ibaliena, Project Officer 4, for her invaluable contribution as a resource person during 2-hour webinar on conflict sensitivity and peace promotion in development setting on October 31, 2020. Signed by Dr. Ava Claire Marie Aura Bless, our Seminar A Advisor, and Ray J. Caubalejo, SDS 96 President.
Go na ba?
Certificate of Appreciation is presented to Dr. Ava Claire Marie Aura Bless for her unwavering support and guidance during the conduct of the 2-hour webinar on conflict sensitivity and peace promotion in development setting on October 31, 2020. Signed by our resource speaker, May Ibaliena, and Ray Caubalejo, our SDS 296A President. And another certificate of appreciation, my participation is presented to all the participants for actively participating during the conduct of 2-hour webinar on conflict sensitivity and peace promotion in development setting on October 31, 2020, signed by our Dr. Ava Claire Marie Aura Bless, our Seminar A Advisor, and resource speaker, May Ibaliena.
So before, thank you to our resource speaker and our class advisor who really supported us in this webinar. So before we end our webinar, may I request our class president to give a closing remarks, Mr. Ray J. Caubalejo. Press.
All right. Thank you, Reggie. No. So, good evening, everyone. First and foremost, I would like to thank all of you for the support by attending this webinar, to Dr. Bidad, Dr. Ava, to Miss May, our speaker for tonight, and for the participants for gracing our webinar for tonight. There were slight glitches, no? But we conquered the adversities. Thank you for all your support. I know that you could be anywhere else tonight, but you chose to spend your time with us. learning and sharing insights on the conflict sensitivity and peace process in development setting. I would like also to express my sincerest gratitude to the team of Reggie, Gwen, and Sheena Dayan for the excellent execution of tonight's webinar. And I would like also to take this opportunity, as I plugged earlier, to invite you all for the forthcoming webinars, especially on the adaptation and mitigation initiative for a climate resilient agriculture using GIS. That will be on November 7, and the interconnectedness on human health, climate change, and society with Engineer Ludwig Federigan as our keynote speaker. This will be on November 14. We will send separate invites through Zoom links for the two webinars, and we hope to see you there. Lastly, I hope you learned a lot tonight, and hopefully you'll be able to apply the concepts to our everyday lives. Enjoy the rest of the evening, and thank you once again.